morning, welcome back to Mountain Mode Flight Logs. I'm pleased you're joining me here today. We've got a beautiful day and a fun flight planned for you going from Kuebunaye to Matsaile. We're just getting going here and getting set up ready for takeoff. Once I've got things ready, I'll explain to you what we're doing and we'll get going. Alright, gas is, I've got 183, that's 3 hours. Caps good, Ranzan selector on the left till 140. Flight controls, right's up, left is down, left is up, right is down. Flight control flap trim check. Instruments are set. Let's get the GPS going, half left, half up. Okay, we're going to Matsaile, that's MA. Okay, and it's bearing 107, which, 107. Okay, instruments and switches checked, mags and prop mags. Prop and mixture checked. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and line up on the runway. Kuebunaye is a really beautiful airstrip. It's found like in this valley here, and it's on a plateau, like on the one side. I'll try and give you a view of it after we take off, if we kind of come back over it. But it's a really nice place, one of my favorite places to come, and we couldn't ask for a better day today. No, not a cloud in the sky, and the wind is calm, which makes it really nice to come into Kuebunaye. It can get pretty crazy here when it is windy, but luckily we've got a good day today. So we're getting set here for takeoff. The plan is to fly from here to Matsaile, which is about a 15-minute flight or so. We're going to be turning out left after departure, heading up into this valley over a couple of big ridges, and then descending down into the valley where Matsaile is. So as we get ready to take off here from Kuebunaye, we've got about a 1900-foot airstrip here, which is probably around 550, somewhere there, 550 meters. And we've got a slight downhill slope here, 2.5%, something like that, on the departure, with a 90% airborne point. We'll see that marker right at the end of the runway. So as we get ready to go here, I'm going to do my radio call for traffic in the area, then my satellite tracking check-in, and then we'll do the abort briefing before getting moving. Lesotho traffic Charlie, Mike. Charlie is ready to go. Kuebunaye will be turning out towards the east after departure for Matsaile, climbing to 10.5. Alright, satellite tracker. Before we get going here, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up on the video so I know that you like it. And if you hit subscribe, that's really going to help YouTube's algorithms to send more people to this. I would appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Alright, so as we get going here, we're going to brief for the abort. My abort point is going to be the second marker. I'll abort if I don't get a good power check or a speed check by the second marker. Airborne past the abort point with an engine failure, 6 Gs. Gliding at 70. Grass is going to be a left-hand turn into the valley that runs towards the west. Looking for a field, then gas will go on yellow pump, changing tanks, red pump if it takes, continue with gab, mayday, mayday, mayday. For landing, guts pump off, selector off, flaps is required, master off for touchdown, and get out. Okay, note the takeoff time here is 10.9, 8.15. Okay, time checked. No passengers, brakes are set, flaps are set, and wind is checked. Alright, we're ready to go. Power check. Speed check. Continue. 50 knots, airborne. Flaps up. And I'm going to go down this ridge here towards the lower ground. You can see this valley that it opens up below us. Really nice. Going to try and position so that you can see Kuebunaye. Let's turn around for that, set my power as I climb. Flaps up, car flaps up, power set, mixture is set, engine instruments, nav instruments, performance instruments, fuel caps, passengers, radio call complete. So as I turn here, you can see this deep valley that Kuebunaye is found in, and then the hopefully you get to see it as I kind of go over it. There's the airstrip, right on that little plateau, about 3/4 of the way up that side of the mountain. Alright, we're not headed that way. We're going to continue the climb over to the east for Matsaile. So this valley that I'm in right now is a closed valley in this direction towards the northeast, and opens up towards the lower ground to the southwest, and that kind of leads into the Senqu Valley, which is the big river that runs through most of at least the eastern and southern parts of Lesotho. We're actually going to be landing at an airstrip now that's just on the Senqu River, so it's a good opportunity to see that, and to see a couple of the airstrips that are dotted down around the in the river valley. We've got some higher ground to get over as we get through here. I'm just finding my way. It's a little bit too high to my northeast there, so I'm just going to be turning a little bit off course to get over these ridges. Again, I've got really good performance with being pretty light at the moment, cool temperatures outside, not much wind, so I've got I'm climbing here at 100 knots. I could pull the nose up and get to VY if I wanted to, if I need that extra performance, but for now we're doing good. So I don't need to go too much higher, 9.5 here. Usually we'll go a little higher over these mountains if it's windy, but today's feeling good, a couple bumps here and there, but otherwise feeling pretty manageable. So let's set my course. Not direct exactly, just because of the terrain. I'm going to be heading for where the valley opens up, descending and then winding along the river to get to Matsaile. So as I do that, I'm going to set for the cruise here as my airspeed increases nicely. I'm going to bring the prop back to 24, and we usually cruise, or always cruise, leaner peak here, so I'm going to bring my fuel flow back to around about 49 or so to get that nicely set for a leaner peak cruise. That'll bring my engine temperatures down, and we'll be conserving fuel nicely. I've got 50 liters and 48, and we'll settle around 48 or 49, which should be perfect. Okay, if I get a few updrafts here to carry me over these ridges, I'm fine with that. No need to maintain exactly 9.5. There's no traffic in the area today. In fact, I'm the only aircraft flying in Lesotho on this airspace this morning, so no issues with traffic, and no problem if I get boosted up a little by these updrafts. Okay, fuel flow is settling there at about 47, 48. I'm going to go ahead and check the temperatures of each cylinder, and I want to maintain those as close as I can to 375, so I'm going to adjust my cowl flaps to achieve that 375 on the hottest. Alright, let's do our cruise checks, which is power set. Cowl flaps are adjusted, we're standing by for the temperature to come down there. Mixture set, engine instruments are checked, and selector is set. Passengers not applicable, no passengers today. I had a cargo flight to Kuebunaye, which was a load full of drugs for the clinic, a lot of COVID supplies, as well as HIV medication. Next drop is at Matsaile to drop off more clinic supplies there, and really nice to have no passengers this morning, so I can make one of these videos. Okay, we've got 6 minutes to go until Matsaile, so it's a real short hop here. We're going to be going over this ridge ahead of us, and as soon as I'm clear of the high ground, I'm going to start my descent, winding along the valley there for Matsaile. So one of the big features in Lesotho, and one of the things that we just about in every flight are flying kind of relative to, is the Senqu River. And that goes into South Africa and turns into the Orange River, which is one of the biggest rivers through South Africa. But it has its source not far from here, a little bit up to the northeast in Lesotho. And it's a really big river. It's pretty dry now in the winter, in the dry season. But it's a really good feature, because if you can get down close to the river there, you'll find a lot of airstrips dotted around, or kind of positioned on or close to the river, as there's a lot of villages built in those same areas. So we're going to be descending over one airstrip and then passing that one to go to Matsaile. Here I'm coming up over the high ground, so I'm going to already start my descent here, bringing the power back, bringing my prop back to 2200. That'll help to keep the engine warm. Closing my cowl flaps all the way, and making sure I don't descend too fast here through the couple of bumps that I have on the downwind side of this mountain. We usually get wind coming from the west, so that comes over the mountain, kind of down this big escarpment that we're going down here. And today is not a windy day, and I've got some bumps. So on a windy day, this is pretty terrible down here. In fact, I wouldn't be descending this close to the mountain if it was a windy day. I would be getting more onto the other side of the valley before I started the descent, just to avoid some of the downwind, some of the downwash on the rotors coming off of the mountain. Not sure if you can pick it up on the external camera there, but just below me there's an airstrip called King. That's another one that's situated right next to the river, also on kind of a little plateau, or one of the meanders of the river. On the ridge there's King. Okay, it's a good time to brief on my airstrip, so I'm going to open up my airstrip directory here and take a look at Matsaile. So Matsaile is a class 3. We can land both directions, but it's very uncommon to land downhill. It is a 5% slope, so landing downhill on 5% is pretty tricky. You need a very strong headwind to be able to achieve that. So on a day like today, we definitely will be landing uphill. So it is 1,700 foot long, which is around 530 meters. Altitude 6,150, so we're descending to 7,200, just to round it up. 5% slope. Surface is dirt. It's a very nice surface. Actually one of my favorite airstrips, because it's really well maintained, but it is also a fun one to access. If we're landing 08, which we will be, the abort is a go critical, so that means on short final we will be calling committed. The reason for that is if we're fully loaded, we can't guarantee performance to climb straight ahead because of the rise in terrain. So we have to call committed. There's a little ridge on final approach. We call committed before that, so we can still turn out and climb in a safe area. So we'll be calling committed pretty short on final approach. We've got a nice long final here, so a lot of time to get established and make sure everything is smooth and working nicely before we are actually committed. Alright, I've got a couple other notes here, but nothing that's relevant for today. My abort, if I do need it, is going to be a right-hand turn following the river and climbing. My ETA is 8:28. Alright, got a nice descent going here through 7,700, so 500 foot or so, and I will be leveling off. You can see below me this river that's meandering, pretty dry, with just a little bit of water running through some big sandbanks in the dry season now. But this is the Senqu River. It really just meanders and continues all the way to the northeast in Lesotho, where it has its source. You won't see it on the GoPro, but maybe on the internal camera you'll be able to see in the distance. Just on my 11 o'clock there, roughly, is Matsaile. I can see the airstrip very clearly now. Nice dirt one, contrasted with the fields that are next to it, so easy to see. Coming up to my altitude, I'm going to plan to fly over, check out the windsocks, and then a left-hand turn into the bowl over there, setting up for final approach, almost in the direction that we're flying now. Temperatures, pressures are still good. My cylinders are cold because I'm in the descent, which is fine, but they're mostly above 300, which is okay. Cowl flaps are closed, and let's just run through the rest of our descent check here. Sector and mixture is set, power is set, cowl flaps are closed, altimeter set, passengers and seatbelts are checked. Alright. Coming up 7,200 foot, which puts me around about 1,000 foot above the airstrip. Once I see that it's clear, I'm going to report landing on the satellite tracker, and I'll then be turning left into this bowl, getting myself set up, going through the checklist for landing. So I can see the runway below me on my left. Go ahead and put the prop back to 24. Alright, we've got a little bit of wind, maybe 2-3 knots down the runway, which will be great for landing. It means I'll have a tailwind takeoff, but that's not an issue with a light wind like that. Runway's clear, no animals, no people. Everything looks great. Okay, so I see that it's clear. I'm going to report landing on my satellite tracker. That gives me 5 minutes to report safe on the ground. No need to descend yet, but I can add my first 10 degrees of flaps out of the white arc. Wait for the white arc before put in the 20. Okay, while my power is back, I can apply full mixture. Sectors on the left, aux pump is off. Airstrip wind lasso is briefed. I've briefed on the airstrip. I have checked that it's clear. My abort is going to be on short final before the ridge. If ground speed is more than 85, or if approach is unstable or something on the runway, I will abort. Alright, in the wide arc, 20 degrees flaps. Get in set up here. Airstrip behind me now on my 8 o'clock or so. I'm going to fly straight ahead to this ridge and then along the ridge. What's really nice flying in Lesotho is most airstrips have got terrain that you can position around. So in some ways I've kind of forgotten how to fly a normal circuit pattern, because I'm always positioning around really specific landmarks at each airstrip that we go to. So at this one, for example, I'm coming up to this ridge, turning left, and then I know my base leg turning onto final is just at the end of this ridge as it drops off into the river valley there. Okay, so here's my base leg along this ridge here. Get in 90 degrees to my runway, 30 degrees of flaps now, brakes and prop checked. I have an upsloping runway for landing 5%, so we'll just keep in mind a little bit of extra back pressure to flare for that, making sure we don't fly the nose well into the ground. Here we go, turn on to final approach, getting my speed in the region of from 70, getting it down to 60 for final. Today I should be able to get it within 1 or 2 knots because there's no wind. So still got to bring that back. Last 10 degrees of flaps, that takes us to full flaps. Cowl flaps are closed. Let's land and check is complete with the green light. I'm checking my ground speed on final 58. That means I've got a slight headwind, which is great for landing. Airspeed's stable at 60. And approach is stable. Ground speed checked. Okay, there's a ridge on the right there. So if I'm going to abort, I need to be able to turn out before that. So I can still go around now, I can still turn right. I'm light, I can still turn right. And I'm calling committed here, committed. A little bit of wind here on final and extra flare. There we go. On the ground. A little bit of power to get to the top here. It's not super steep, but it's a nice amount of gradient. Especially helps for the takeoff to accelerate a little quicker. 167 fuel left, reporting on the ground safely. Lights are going off. Yeah. And I'm going to park on the cement pad into the wind. Alright. Okay, so 166, avionics going off. Electrical equipment mags, mixture mags, master, post flight. Alright, that's our flight for this morning. Thanks for joining me this morning from Kuebunaye to Matsaile. That was a fun one to take you along with. Hope you enjoyed it. Please go ahead and give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe. That's just going to help the channel. And please join me next time for another flight log. See you then.